Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the blue Android 8 and taking a look at just how good he is in DB Legends, whilst also getting a good feel for what kind of teams he can operate on. Now, outside of the obvious DB Saga team that just received a whole bunch of buffs, you can actually run this guy pretty sufficiently on Androids, which is what I'll be doing today, as I don't have the sufficient DB Saga merits to kind of run him. So Android 8 is a pretty solid unit. If we're talking strictly in terms of abilities, his special move gives him a plus 30% to special move damage inflicted, also applying a minus 30% to enemies sustained damage cut effects to self as well. He has the special skill Active Boot, which is pretty strong, restoring his own ki, increasing his damage inflicted for 50 timer counts by 50%, increasing his ki recovery by 50%, increasing his arts card draw speed by level 1, and increasing his arts card draw speed again by level 1 for 10 timer counts. It also gives him minus 5 to his own strike and blast arts costs for 10 timer counts, whilst applying the buff effect nullification of enemy special actions that activate when changing cover. Now, the 50% damage inflicted and ki recovery and the very first arts card draw speed buff are all limited and can only occur once, but they cannot be cancelled. So they cannot be stacked, they cannot be cancelled. Then the rest of the green card can be stacked. His ultimate skill, Eta Rush, deals massive damage and also plus 30% to ultimate damage inflicted, whilst nullifying the restore health when reaches 0 effects, which is pretty good. It also destroys all enemy cards on hit. In terms of his passives or his character details, a body made to be weaponized is plus 90% to damage inflicted, reduces his damage received by 65%, plus 30% to ki recovery and nullification of abnormal conditions when the battle starts. He applies the following effects to self when this character enters battle: draws a special arts card next, restores his health by 10%, restores ki by 25%, and then plus 70% to damage inflicted. He also applies the following effects to self if there's a defeated battle member. Randomly draws at most 2 new cards when you have 3 or fewer cards. Then he has plus 30% to damage inflicted, which cannot be stacked. He applies the following effects to himself every time an ally is hit with an enemy strike or blast arts card, which increases his damage and reduces his cost. And he also has the ability to reduce his own substitution counter. The Kind-Hearted Android knocks back an enemy to long range if cover change performed against a strike arts attack. And when the enemy is changing cover, it randomly destroys 2 of their cards, reduces their vanishing gauge to 0%, and reduces Dragon Balls by 1, which is really good. The cover change ability of him, so like if you green card, which removes their ability to have special actions occur, and then you also do have his cover change activate, the unit coming in can get smoked because they don't have vanishing gauge at all, and they can't then cover change again because it activates twice. So it's really good. That's probably the thing I like the most about him. Like, he can really cause some problems if you're going up against a team where someone's continuously switching his characters in and out. Like, you can't double switch against the Android 8. Like, it just doesn't work. So that's something that's really good for him. Overall, I think is really solid. And he can do some good damage. After his green card's active, after a couple of hits have kind of occurred, he can do some really good damage. So I like the Android 8. And the fact that he's not limited to only DB Saga, I think, was a good decision. A lot of his buffs can still apply to things like the Androids team, which I think is quite important, especially considering how he synergizes so well with units like the Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, and with Magenta here, I should say, not Magetta, that's Buddha and Magetta. But yeah, there is really kind of this good calling for some really solid abilities, basically, and I think he's got some really good synergy when we talk about like his interactions with a lot of the team members, because the ability to reduce your substitution timer count is pretty important, but the fact that he disrupts the opposition so well is also really good. Nullification of special actions, nullification of cover change, nullification of health when it restores to 0 effects, the ability to reduce the opponent's vanishing gauge, the ability to reduce the opponent's Dragon Balls. Like, all of these are very, very crucial and are super important when you talk about like controlling the battle. The fact that he has his own cover change, the fact that he reduces his own substitution timer count. So there's plenty of really good stuff here, and I think overall there's a really good basis for this guy as a unit. I just think, yeah, he's a nice unit. He's a good sparking unit. I would say he's not maybe necessarily as good as the Uniforce units, because they're both tag units, and they were specifically made for the Uniforce team, whereas this Android 8 unit feels way less limited. Like, he doesn't really need to have DB Saga units on his team. He thrives when there's defeated units, of course, but generally speaking, he's not nearly as tied down, I'd say, as the other units. He doesn't actually have realistically anything locked behind one team. He gives plus 10% damage inflicted, on top of plus 20% damage inflicted when he's defeated, to DB Saga, Saga from movies, and androids, which honestly is all three teams you'd probably consider running this guy on anyway. So realistically speaking, there's not a lot of negatives. And he's also got the bonus of having a Zenkai boost from the new Sparking Bulma Youth. So yeah, I would say overall he's a good unit. Maybe isn't blowing people's minds, but he is definitely a super solid unit that does a great job. So I'm super impressed by him. I think he looks really good, and yeah, honestly speaking, I think he's great. Yeah, he doesn't, like I said, blow people's minds. But I think overall he's really, really solid. So yeah, I'm really happy to see him and use him. And I think he's a good damage dealer, especially since Red is still a pretty solid meta right now. So if you didn't get the Namek Goku, he can provide some really good coverage against Red. And yeah, I think that's really where he's going to do well. You know, I look at Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 on the Androids team who desperately need this blue unit that provides them some coverage against Red, you know, Vegito and things like that. And yeah, it all looks pretty good. But that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, as always, take care, stay safe, and let me know your thoughts on Android 8. But that's going to be it from me, and thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, see you then, bye.